Dear friends, welcome to THALIR. It means bud. It is budding force to a new life. And we are Capuchins working for the renewal of the society and the church. My dear friends, welcome to the international program for the midlifers. This program is being held from 3rd to 7th of November, every day in the evening, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Indian time. We are focusing on growing gracefully and midlife transition. This is offered by THALIR Capuchin Online Ministries. This is from Virtual Institute of Spirituality, Integration and Transformation. Visit. We are struggling with the discontentment with life and boredom with things and people. We start questioning the meaning of life. We are confused about who we are and where our life is going. We are facing boredom, exhaustion, self-questioning, daydreaming. We have come across irritability, unexpected anger. We are sometimes act on alcohol, drug, food, and other compulsions. Sometimes we are also greatly decreased or increased in sexual desires and other concerns. We are also decreased and increased by ambitions in life. Therefore, to answer to these situations, we are happy to have amidst us Reverend Dr.Staney, CSSR, the Redemptorist priest. On the first day, we will be dealing with midlife crisis versus midlife transition. We'll follow with physical transition, emotional transition, spiritual rebirth, and relational transitions. We welcome you to have a wonderful interaction, input, and clarifications. Here comes Reverend Father Dr. Staney, CSSR.
So good evening, friends. So how are you keeping today? I know, I presume it was evening. For some of you, it's morning. For some of you, it's midday. But it's wonderful, isn't it? Though we are from different parts of the world, we can actually come with one singular mind because we all share one ministry and one mission, maybe with a little variation here and there, but still we do share one mission and one ministry. So it's wonderful that we are meeting at different parts of the day. So anyway, I'll keep this in mind next time, and I'll wish you good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, for some good night later. All right. So today we will continue with our session on midlife transition. Now, first day we were trying to identify what a crisis is, and then we also try to differentiate that from what a transition is. So we made a distinction between what is a crisis and what is a transition. So then yesterday we moved on to a little more deeper. How does this particular age bracket, say 30 to 60 approximately? Now, when we use this word approximation, it's because this time frame is very lucid. We cannot just demarcate to say that it's between this age and another particular age, because it's very, very lucid. For some people, it begins at 30. For some people, it begins at 35. Some people, it begins at 40. It's not like the adolescence. Like adolescence begins somewhere between 12 and 13 and ends over at 19 years. And then we move to young adulthood. But when it comes to middle age, it is a lengthy process. After that transition, there's a lengthy process of many years, almost a decade or a decade and a half. For some, it is 2 decades. 20 years later, we are making a transition. Therefore, we have lost touch with transition. So now this is very lucid because it runs for, they say, some for 2 years, for 7 years, some it might even go up to more than 12 to 15 years. It can. So this is the time frame we are talking. And in this time frame, what happens? We tend to look after our health. And yesterday we were talking about what are the health complications that can happen to us because of the wear and tear effect. We are no longer younger. We are not as strong as what we were 20 years. 20 years ago, we can run the staircase, no problem. Today we try, then I think we end up in the hospital. Either we trip and fall, or we say, thank you very much, and we pant and we sit up. So basically, the body is not sort of cooperating. The body is not cooperating because I tend to be working in a different plane. But physically, I am not okay because my body can't take it, because I'm moving along and my body has taken a toll because of my work, because of my own habits, because of my lifestyle, and so on. So at 40, I'm not full of that kind of energy. I do have. Somebody says, can't hear anything. You can't hear me? Hello? Father, you can't hear me?
You are very much audible, Father. I think they have to adjust the audio setting.
For the Ben,
Okay,
when you guide them, they don't. Some people don't know this internet. Some have
Yeah,
written
yeah.
how to
You are
use
very
that.
much audible, Father.
For the Ben,
Before that, I'll just help them in chat.
here in the chat, see, friends, you go to the chat. Here, Father Ben will be guiding you how to get into the internet volumes. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll continue. So what happens is, like we were talking about, because of the wear and tear effect and because of our own lifestyle, eating habits, exercise, and so on, we have a lot of health complications that can come, and that's what we saw yesterday. And also a few recommendations what we can do. Today we will try to deal with another area of life. What does this transformation do to me as a person? What is this transformation? Or normally they use this word called crisis, which I don't want to use that, because transformation is much more a positive terminology. So we are moving forward. So what does that do to me as a person? I think that is what we need to focus. It does something as a person to my thinking. It does something to the way that I emote, the way that I behave changes, and everything has an overall consequence during this transition phase. So therefore, today we will psychological changes that we can anticipate or that we go through. So I would like to share with you this PowerPoint, and we will see how best we can work this out. Yeah, psychological transition. And if you just take a look at it, there are a whole lot of words just jumbled there. Person, possibility, change, routine, time, others, and so on. So that means we are trying to move from every possible thing. Now, what is it? Midlife crisis can sometimes feel very uncomfortable and cause people to seek psychotherapy and counseling. Sometimes, yeah. Or to make radical lifestyle changes that can be very damaging and regret it later. Sometimes we can do that because it is so confusing. Sometimes we also feel a lot of hopelessness, and sometimes we feel, oh, why am I not the person that I was a couple of years back? Have I changed? What changed inside of me? Why am I behaving in such particular fashion? Why am I getting irritated? Why am I losing my temper? Why can't I be polite as I normally used to be? Something has changed. Or probably, why am I thinking something that did not happen, but still I'm so worried about it? My anxiety level is pretty high. And what's happening to my thought process? Or why am I thinking or evaluating people or situations negatively? And most probably, I tend to evaluate myself negatively depending on the factors that are affecting me, like health, or the things like the body shape that can change because of fat accumulation or obesity. I tend to devalue myself. And why am I doing this? Sometimes I feel helpless. Sometimes I feel hopeless. Sometimes I feel very sad. Sometimes I can feel very anxious. But I don't know why. But all that I know is I am confused. And there's a whole lot of confusion that can go. So people can take drastic measures during this time. They can make a lot of lifestyle changes that sometimes can backfire and bring about a negative consequences. Like say, for example, this is the time people might think, what am I doing in this congregation? Let me leave. But after leaving, many people regret because they don't know why they left. They only left because they were confused. Some people working in a good position and they're earning good money, they're stable and all that. They question and they say, I wanted to quit this job and then take up psychology. Now, that is just a fleeting thought and they acted upon it. And once they go into psychology, they realize they cannot understand science because they are economic students. So they cannot understand scientific things, and then they are caught up between what they can't do and what they had left behind. So that can be really exhausting and regrettable. So midlife transition is important, but it is important to identify, to stay where we are and try to work out a strategy to make a shift in lifestyle or any other changes that we would like to make. Now, for that, we need to understand there are two opposing myths that are underlying people's fears. They're myths, I would like to tell you. Now, what is a myth? A myth doesn't have any substantial evidence, empirical based evidence, but still we tend to believe that is true. There's no empirical evidence whatsoever. But I tend to believe that it is absolutely true. And thinking about that, I feel very bad. Okay, so there are two opposing myths about midlife that sort of holds me up, that doesn't allow me to open up or see the possibilities that are still there. And we are going to try to understand what are those two myths. The first myth is the myth of midlife is the onset of decline. The myth of midlife is the onset of decline. That means just because I have gone into this transition phase, I think my life is ended. This is the beginning of my end. So what happens when people say, I've reached midlife, therefore I am done. My work is over, and my life is over. So they get to sort of a pessimistic understanding.
There's some problem for the Ben.
Yeah, his network is down further. Just wait.
Is the notion of midlife is there is a magical transformation. There's a magical transformation. What do I mean by magical transformation? They say you go into midlife and suddenly everything will change. Your life will change like magic and everything is going to be beautiful. That is a myth as well. Now, where does these two myths come from? They come from somewhere. One is the historical context. Yesterday we just touched it. We were talking about the First World War. That is about, say, 1939. It just got over. So the whole thing was there was devastation all over. People are trying to rebuild something, and then the Second World War began. So 1939, Second World War. So people can get into that hopelessness. What is the point? We just thought the war is over. We're trying to build up something, and again, World War II. And it was waged for about 6 years. 6 years of suffering, and you know what happened in Austria and Poland and so on, what Germany did to them. So people got into pessimistic attitude. So stability had gone down. Now, during that time, you know, there were superpowers there. Superpowers were Germany, Italy, Japan. They were the superpowers those days. So what happened to Japan, what happened to Germany, and what happened to Italy after the Second World War? All three declined, and the new superpower came to be, and that was America. Now, they came up, and they came up with this kind of a thought process called rebuilding everything. They came up with a kind of a caption called the American Dream. You can live the American Dream. Now, that was the slogan. Even till this day, People go to America to live the American dream. Why? Because it's a free culture. You can do whatever you want. You have a passion for it, you can succeed in that. But unfortunately, when the life expectancy also grew higher, because that time it was about 45, 50. But later on now, it's gone up to 80, 85. So people did not know what to do in that relatively large portion of life that is still there. So people started living the dream, how in a materialistic, kind of consumeristic idea. But the American dream was speaking about humanity, equality, and brotherhood, and so on. But unfortunately, the shape that it took was utilitarianism, consumerism. So basically, they only climbed the economic ladder, but people did not climb, they did not really cherish or nourish their own. So that was one of the roots. People said, what's the point of all this? I've earned money, so what? I have a successful business, so what? So I have a good practice, so what? I have a good family, so what? Why? Because I've already gotten to middle age, therefore my life is ending anyways. And that is what made them. So it's got a historical context for the myth number one. That is the myth of midlife as an onset to decline. I'll give you an example. Okay, you might understand. Now, there was this particular person called Judith, and she was a Jewish woman, very staunch religious practitioner, and she works in a business environment. And she had been well educated, well schooled, got a very high profile job, and she was really creative in her work, and she got all the accolades that she wanted, and she got all the praise and the money and the stability and so on. She was satisfied. But when she turned 42 one morning, she was totally disinterested. She felt lazy. She felt lethargic. She did not talk to her children. She didn't feel like going to work anymore. And she felt that I'm totally disinterested in life at 42. Now, let's analyze what happened to Judith. Now, Judith has entered into this phase of midlife transition. So she's trying to question her entire life. I've been successful in my education. I've been successful in my career, and I've been very successful in my job placement. I'm successful with my family, and I'm successful materially and socially. But then there's something that's lacking. Now I'm not interested in any of these. I've achieved the heights that I want to achieve, but there's something that I'm not. Now, after a while, when she started talking to her therapist, they discovered this, that being a very staunch Jewish woman by practice, because she was groomed in a Jewish family. So therefore, she followed the dictates of Judaism. Father said something, mother said something, the family said something, and she just followed it. But did she really wanted it? No. Heart of heart, she did not wanted it. But she only followed what was told to her by her immediate people, father, mother, family, and the culture that they lived with, the Jewish community. And she said, I just followed whatever was said up to age 42, and now I feel I can't take it anymore because I am not, I don't believe in that. I do believe in that, and certain things I cannot understand. Now, this is a strong crisis. There is a conflict. Now, Judith could have made any number of decisions. She could have quit a job. She could have taken another job. She could have said, I am financially well off. I will invest my money and I'm stop working. I will relax. That's one thing that she could have done. Or she feels, I'm so close to my husband, it's so long and I wanted a change, a thrill in life, can end up in divorce and get remarried. That's a possibility. But Judith did not do any of this because of a strong Jewish background. But she did something proactive. What did she do? She said, I am a Jewish lady follow the Jewish tradition right from my childhood up to age 42, then now I don't have a kind of liking for it. But did I know Judaism fully? And then she started talking to people about Judaism. She started talking to rabbis about it, asking explanation. And then she realized that there was something in her that wanted to know more about Judaism. She got so interested in reading books and commentaries about Judaism, and she found it so fascinating. So therefore, what she did, she moved on to start a club with a group of Jewish people. And what they do, they meet every week on a particular day at a particular time, and they discuss various concepts that they learned during the week. And this sort of enriched her. And she found there was meaning, there was purpose. I did not blindly follow my father, mother, and my family, which I did up to age 42. Now at 42, what am I doing? I am making the decision mine. I am learning, I'm putting an effort, and I'm learning, and I'm inspired, I'm enriched. So therefore, Judith got out of her depression, and she continued to do this as not a career option, that gave her a meaning and a purpose, which also allowed her to get back to work and to contribute with her professional career as well. Now you see, Judith sort of debunked that entire myth of midlife is decline. She said there is more to midlife than a decline. There is a possibility of growth, transformation, and renewal. So Judith was a person, she was trying to balance now between a husband, family, a work environment, and something that she was passionate about. A club where they can talk about different concepts of Judaism, which she was enriched and nourished. Now, this is a story that is very positive, and Judith took off and said, just because I'm in midlife, it is not the end of me. I can make it more meaningful, more rejuvenating, and also it can make me happy and content. Now, that is the transition that she made, because she understood the different nuances that are present there, and she was able to make an informed decision, and she was happy, right? So that's the story of Judith. It is a positive story. Now, let's see. Now, what are the signs of midlife crisis? Now, imagine a woman staring out a window, looking very interested and seemingly everything in life, wondering what become of her marriage and her best years in life. So that's what we are talking about. See, she's looking out the window one day and saying, what's happening to me? What's happening to my life? What's happening to my marriage? What's happening to my children, my family? What's happening to my best years in life? I'm not excited anymore. Now, that is a sign or an onset of midlife transition. Now, midlife transition sort of tears up many things. It puts you into confusion. It tears up a relationship. It breaks homes. People tend to divorce. People have extramarital affairs. People have another relationship. People also end their careers sometimes. They can change careers, and they can also run the situation of getting into financial ruin, like pathologically gambling, and they can invest on something, on real estate or something else, and they lose their entire savings because they make rash decisions because they are confused. So that is why we need to be careful when we actually start the midlife transition. A midlife transition will bring about a whole lot of confusion, a whole lot of questioning, a whole lot of looking back and reflecting upon my life and the quality of my life lived. But that's an indicator not to be afraid of, but we need to walk through this maze. And that's what we are trying to. That's why it's important to recognize the signs of midlife transition before it actually begins. Before it actually begins, we need to recognize When will it begin? So then we can be prepared. We cannot be totally in control, but at least we know it is happening to me. There's nothing to worry. It's happening to me. That much. So we need to understand. So for that, we need to understand these two myths. Otherwise, we can be taken up by this. We can get into despair, and then we can get negative about life, negative about me, self, negative about the other person, and can be negative about the world in general. The second myth is myth of magical transformation. Friends, today there are so many self-help books. A lot of people. Like there are people like Shiv Khera, who, one of his title, You Can Win. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, The New Earth. There are people like Anthony Robbins. There's so many people who have written, they are like new age writers. And what are they trying to say? They're saying, if you think something, you can achieve anything. Friends, that's a myth. That's a myth. You cannot achieve just because you think. There are so many other factors we need to consider. Like say, for example, I want to become a doctor at 45. Can I become a doctor? I cannot understand head nor tail of what science is. I cannot understand biology. I cannot understand human physiology. And I cannot stand blood. But I'm thinking, I want to become a doctor. Is it possible to become a doctor? Absolutely not. Because I'm not made for that. But what am I made for? Maybe I'm good at mathematics, I'm good at logic. Can I switch on to engineering? Yes, I might fare well. But just because you think that you like medicine, you just cannot go. Because that is a myth. But what propagates a myth is a society today. The society is transforming this myth in the name of motivation. In the name of motivation, people tend to just propel people and say, just because you're very optimistic, you can do anything under the sky. You can't. That's the reality. The reality check is what I can do, what I cannot do. We are between two spectra. We are between the spectrum of what we can do and what we can't do. The spectrum between what are my strengths and what are my limitations. And that gives me an idea what I really can do or cannot do. Now, this is a story of this particular person called Albert. Now, Albert was a marketeer. He was working in marketing and advertising and very successful in his business. And of course, he had a good run with money, investments, and he also had a whole lot of good family and so on, friends. Suddenly, he went through this transition. And what he thought, I'm going to switch my job. I'm going to give up marketing. Then what am I going to do? I'm going to take up movie making. Imagine. So immediately he resigned his job and jumped into movie making. Now what does this man know about movie making? He enjoyed movie. He's a kind of a critique of movies. Okay, a decent critique. But he doesn't know the nuances of movie making. The lighting, the camera work, the editing, the direction, the production. None of these he was aware of. But he just felt he jumped into it. Why? Because his mind says, see, if your intentions are so strong, you can do anything you want. You can become the greatest director and producer in Hollywood. So he jumped. He tried, but he couldn't. And now what happened? It had a ripple effect. So he felt dejected. He felt so depressed. And he just wanted to withdraw from people. He wanted to get away from family. He wanted to be left alone. Now look at that. This is a spiral. He made a decision, but the decision is not paying fruit. Therefore, this transformation is going backward rather forward. Then he met a friend of his and he tried to share, this is what I'm doing. I wanted to do movie, but I realized that I'm not good at movies. But I am not interested in marketing as well. Now I don't know what to do. So his friend helped him to strike a midway. So what he did, he was able to market, that was his profession. So he was also able to market ideas. He was able to market ideas. Not that he will become the director of the movie, but he can contribute by marketing ideas for a movie. Now, you see, he took his strength and took his passion and combined both, and then he started marketing his ideas. And now, while marketing his idea, he started a storytelling club again. So people come there and they tell stories, and he promoted their stories. And then it took a form of a book and publications and so on. So he took a different turn towards his career. Now, this is the story of Albert. Now, what made him to spiral is just because in his mind he thought he can do anything that he wanted just because he's got the intention. But friends, that's a myth. We cannot do. So what we need to understand, it is not, we need to understand it's not possible. The myth is just because we have attained or we are there in the midlife, doesn't mean my life is ended. Just because I think during midlife that I can do anything, that is also not true. We need a kind of barricade, or maybe a bracket in which I should be realistic. Now, it is common to see external factors that act as catalysts and drive changes. There are externals. What are the externals? Like externals like debt, financial debt. You know, people had made a lot of investments, maybe for education, they've taken a loan, or probably people also can do that for buying a property, having an EMI option, but then they could have incurred a lot of debt. Now, debt can also spiral because sometimes you have to pay the interest. It sounds good, but you don't pay the interest, you have to pay the double interest, and it accumulates. And after some time, you don't know how much debt is there and how you're going to pay. And now you are 42 years of age. Now, that is when things spiral. So that's an external factor. Now, another external factor that could trigger a negative spiral would be the loss of a loved one. Maybe a loss of a loved one could be your life partner, a husband or a wife, or it could be a child, or it could be a dear friend, or it could be, for women, a loss of a part of the body because of surgery, like removal of the uterus, or people who have breast cancer, a removal of part of the breast. Now, this can also be considered as loss. Now, again, the loss can be even enunciated by people putting on weight. People have a heart condition. People have high cholesterol. People are diagnosed with hypertension. People who started losing their hair, or even the hair starts becoming gray. Now, all that seems to be losses. So, whenever something that I consider as loss that can stay as a catalyst to bring about a negative spiral that can be detrimental to my own growth. Loss of a job is an example. A loss of a job. A loss of status could be one thing. Children moving away because they have found a career, or children getting married and leaving, that could be one thing. Career changes can be very, very suffocating because all along for the past 20 years, I knew what I was doing. Now I'm venturing into a space where I don't know anything. I have to begin from scratch. It can be really tiring. People can be very desperate. And the age factor also catches up. So that could be a spiral. An emptiness syndrome. I explained the first day. That is when the feeling of a mother bird, when the eggs hatch and the chicks develop wings and they fly away and leave the nest. And that's the feeling of the mother bird. So when the children move out of the house for education or marriage, the feeling of the mother, they feel so empty within. And the age is catching up. And that is when people will try to do something to undo this. They can get into things like over drinking, over smoking, or indulge in a lot of spending, buying new clothes, investing in property, or changing their lifestyle, going to a club, playing poker. I mean, a lot of things can spiral. Some of them can be beneficial. Sometimes we can get into impulsive behavior. Death of a close friend or a relative, a divorce. A divorce or break in any relationship could cause that. And of course, menopause. Okay. Now, emotional difficulties with midlife transition. That's what we need to see. First, signs of difficulties of coping with transition are frustration. Now, friends, when does frustration happen? Frustration happens like this. Now, say for example, I'll give you an example of a mother and a child. A mother tells her little child, don't go out and play. The child goes and plays, falls down, gets hurt, and begins to cry. Now, what happens to the mother's instinct? The mother runs and picks the baby. And she does not cuddle the baby. She does not say it's okay, but rather she gets angry with the baby. She sort of gives a stare, or probably a harsh word or two, or at some point of time give up two more spankings, possible. It depends on what culture it is. Now, why would the mother do that? Doesn't the mother realize the child is already down, already hurt? Why would the mother get angry and hurt the child more? That's what we are talking about, frustration. Frustration comes from helplessness. The mother feels, I don't know how to make myself understood. And that is the cause of frustration. I don't know what to do. So total helplessness, and then people feel frustrated. Now, it is just not the frustration. What causes more difficulty is the denial of the frustration. We tend to say, everything is fine, I'm okay, life goes on. It doesn't. Life doesn't go on. I'm frustrated. I'm helpless. I think we need to address that. But somehow we tend to camouflage it. You know how we do it? Sometimes spirituality can be producing negative results. Because we can cover it up with spirituality and we can get into a total denial. Friends, I'll give you an example. This happened to one of my clients, a particular client. And he was happily married for 32 years. And one day he was riding the scooter, and then his wife was sitting pillion, and there was a speed breaker, a road bump. And when the scooter just tried to cross over, his wife lost balance and fell backward. And there was a trunk coming behind and just ran over her. And he saw his wife die right in front of his eyes. Imagine, it's such a traumatic event. They were in love. They were married for 32 years and they lived a happy life for 32 years. And seeing his loved one dying right in front of his eyes, it's terrible. It's traumatic. But you know what happened? During the funeral service, he sang the from the prophet Job. You know, we had it during the morning prayer, during this week, I think. Okay, naked I came into this world, and naked I shall leave. God has given, God has taken away. Glory be to God. Now, do you think it is a normal behavior? He never cried, not a drop of tear. He said, God has given me, God has taken it. Thanksgiving. But he was trying to swallow his sadness inside, but it's not coming out. His mind is saying, God has given, God has taken away. Friend, this is called rationalization. This is a defense mechanism. Sometimes spiritualization can also be a rationalizing process. It can be a total denial process where I'm saying that the situation is not existing, but actually it is. And that becomes an issue in midlife transition. So anyway, so later on, where we had a private session with that particular person, then I just had to acknowledge his pain. I just said, it must be very painful for you. That's what I said. He just broke down crying. He cried, he grieved. He's perfectly okay. Today he's a therapist, you know, he's doing such wonderful work outside. Now, why is it? Frustrations are normal. Helplessness are normal. We are going to encounter. But the denial part of it is going to create a negative spiral again. Feeling less energetic and vibrant or attract. Now, these are three things. First of all, the energy level goes low. Vibrant because I can't be, because I feel just worn out. And third, I am not as attractive as I was 10 years back. because I'm losing my hair, I'm getting a pot belly, I'm putting on weight, and I'm losing sleep. I'm contracting, blackness around my eyes, and I'm wearing a bifocal spectacles. I can't, I'm not attractive anymore. So that means it is a negative evaluation of my current condition. That can cause a lot of emotional disturbance as well. Third, it could be the change in a life goal. We talked about people like Albert, remember? A marketing person. Then he was totally disinterested. Immediately he shifted for movie making. We can make erratic decisions without giving enough thought, because we want to escape from this reality of boredom. And I wanted to move into something that is new and fresh. And my mind says, if I move there, everything is going to be fine. And it's not going to be fine, because my situation is not changing. Just because I change my job, nothing changes. It is inside of me, the emotional thing that I'm going through. I think that is what we need to address. So people can get into impulsive behavioral patterns as well. So once they also change their life or the lifestyle, they can get into another thing called they feel regret, and they always have this thought that what could have been done. Regret, basically. I could have done that. I could have done this. Why didn't I do that? They also tend to feel guilty. So this spiral is not helping. They are either feeling guilty, or they're feeling frustrated or helpless, or they are getting into feelings of regret. And none of these are positive. That's helping me. Now, why would somebody feel guilty? What I think and what I believe do not go together, then I feel guilty. It's a very simplistic interpretation of guilt. What I believe in and what I do not match. It's not matching. So I feel guilty. So I look into my congregation, I look into my community living, I look into my own spirituality, and this is what my belief says, but what I'm doing is the opposite of that, so therefore I can feel guilty. So this can create a spiral that is negative, that can suck us into and make things complicated. Now, there's also a fear of one's ultimate demise. People can get into this fatalistic attitude when they get into midlife transition. What's the point? I'm going to die anyway. What's the point? I'm going to die anyway. They keep on saying that life is as if it's so fleeting, but you have a solid 40 years ahead. Now, I'll give you an example of this COVID-19 situation. I know somebody, that particular person got into depression. You know why he got into depression? Because he was diabetic. Because diabetic are comorbid, because they can contract COVID situations, because their body, the immune system is low. He's highly diabetic. But he felt that because he's diabetic, he was waiting for corona to infect him. And thinking about corona, he'd stopped talking to all the people in his community. Then he started withdrawing. He was sitting in his room, thinking about, will I be affected? Will I be affected? And he kept thinking, and he was getting into a whole lot of depression. And what was this? Basically, in that particular person's mind, he says, life is ended. It's gone. So I'm done. Once corona comes, I'm going to die. That is not true. There are people who recovered from corona. The death factor is not the greater percentage. The recovery stay is the greater percentage. But in his mind, he thinks, I have diabetes, I get corona, I will die. Look at the equation that's going on in his mind. So he has decided he will die. And so what happened? He has stopped doing what actually gave him meaning. Reading, recreating, chatting with somebody, watching a movie, or talking to somebody, or even to have a conversation with a community member. He stopped all of this and he started withdrawing. And that started making him feel guilty. He had feelings of regret. Then he was getting into depression. That's what we're talking about. Some people also lose interest in relationships, and they also get into relationships that is outside of commitment. Now, outside of commitment, I specifically use this word commitment because commitment can be two. Married people, they also make a commitment to one another. Religious people also make a commitment to the congregation and to God. But people can also have a relationship. I'm talking about a physical relationship or an affair outside of commitment because I wanted newness. I wanted something special. I want something out of the ordinary. So therefore, we will hear this kind of stories. That is true. It's not that they wanted to do it, but still they wanted to have newness. So they will try experimenting. They do that, and that is when people get into affairs. They'll get into kind of relationships, and then they get stuck there. So they can't decide between where they are. People can also get into abusive behaviors like drinking excessively, binge eating, and excessive sleeping, or binge watching Netflix. Yeah, that is another thing today. Amazon Prime and Netflix, people tend to binge watch. So because they have an emotional thing, they want to forget about it, they can start watching Netflix right from morning till night. There are people who can do that. They can watch a TV series, a web series, season 1, 2, 3, 4, and till the end. They can keep going. Now, this is addictive behavior, and that can also be triggered. Okay, and of course, there is depression, anxiety, emotional issues, and so on. In addition to what were highlighted, so we'll also see some of the symptoms. Now, they also feel a desire to quit the job. Friends, it's not the desire to stay, the desire to move away. Whatever they were doing, they said that's enough. I'm going to try something new. I'll quit the job, I'll change my career, or I'll change my occupation. I can even change my own religious life. I can leave it and go away. Or I can divorce and get remarried. So all that, these are impulsive behavior patterns. Desire to move into a different city, that's possible. Desire to run away and escape, that is another. Desire to participate in activities which are bad for me, like alcohol or illicit drugs and so on. They try to do it. Then they also have less desire to do things that used to bring them pleasure. Now, this is the funny part. Once upon a time, they had a hobby. They loved walking. They loved going for a jog. They loved cooking. They loved knitting. They probably loved to read a book. They loved to have intellectual conversations. They loved to watch movies. They were all pleasurable things in the past. But once they attain this midlife, all these pleasurable moments, they start lacking the desire to do any of these. So therefore, just like the example I gave about this particular person, they tend to withdraw into the self. Now, one of the things that they can do, they can be irritable, they can lash out with anger, all that is possible. There's an urge to have an extramarital affair or a relationship with someone much younger than themselves. Why? They always try to relate with somebody younger than themselves. Why? Because they also feel their age. They want to relate to somebody of their age because that was the memory that they had, the prime. The mindset is in the prime, and now they know that they're getting older and they want to get back to their prime. So therefore, people can tend to get married to people who are younger than them or have an extramarital affair or a relationship with a younger person. Okay? That is because of the reminiscing of the good old times. I'm trying to think about the good old times, but it's only a kind of a desire. But actually, the reality is, I am getting old. Old is not bad. That is why, friends, we are even afraid to tell our age. How old are you becomes a threatening question to ask. People tend to, camouflage that with another question. How young are you? You're not getting any younger. Because for us to take the word old is troublesome. But then the reality check is we are getting old. We're not getting any time younger. So this is what happens. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. This is something that I always liked. This is by a philosopher called Epictetus. He was a Stoic philosopher, the 1st century AD in Rome. He was a slave there, but he was also a philosopher. You know, being a slave and being optimistic is a great virtue. So he said, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. And that is something applicable for all who go through midlife transition. If you're going through midlife transition, you might experience a wide range of feelings. What kind of feelings you will go through? Feelings of discontent with life, or the lifestyle that we are trying to be. Okay, so we can be discontent, boredom with things, with people, or feeling adventurous suddenly. We do mountain climbing, we can go hiking suddenly. We want to have that adrenal rush sometimes, suddenly. People tend to question everything. The meaning of existence, meaning of life, the validity of it, all the decisions that I have taken in the past. I tend to question myself, the world. I tend to question everything. That could be one of the feelings that people can go through. People can go through confusion about who they are, the very identity. That is what happened to all these people, the examples I gave. Okay, we were talking about Reginald Perry, first day. Yeah, he was asking this question, despite of my success, external success, I'm in a confusion. Who am I? I don't know who I am. So therefore, he took up a second identity. The same thing with Albert, same thing with Judith, and I think it's the same with all of us. We go through a stage of confusion and we tend to seriously ask, what is the meaning of my existence? Because that is ultimately a question that an individual must ask in their lifetime. And this begins at adolescence at age 13 to 19, then it goes dormant, goes to sleep, then again it picks up when we turn 40 plus. These feelings at midlife are very natural and they can be brought up because of some external stimuli. Could be a trigger response from somebody. Now, friends, there are also certain distinctions between men and women when they attain this midlife transition. Men are afraid of changes that comes with aging, the loss of virility and masculinity. Now, that gives them a kind of a chill. Men are afraid of change because they're aging, they lose their vitality or virility or the masculinity. You know, men tend to lose hair. I lost hair. There are people who lose hair, and women lose hair as well. But you know, have you seen people, they have 3 strands of hair, but they go to a barber shop every month to have a haircut? I wouldn't call it optimism. They can very well shave their head. But the 3 strands of hair matters. Some people oil it and they even try to cover it. Because it has something to do with my identity. So basically, men have that. Men are afraid of becoming less attractive to the opposite sex. This is exclusively for men. That is why they try to, when they put on a little weight, they feel a little awkward. They want to reduce weight. They fast and they go into dieting. Now we have keto diet, we have GM diet, you have all kinds of diets. But then dieting is not the answer, because the whole thing is they do not want to be unattractive or less attractive towards the opposite sex. Men are afraid of not attaining goals they have set for themselves. That's another. Men are afraid of not attaining goals. So they set a goal, they achieve it basically. They want to achieve it. If they can't achieve, then they fail as a failure. Men have many fixed stereotypes. That's what men are absolutely fixed. Men are less able to express themselves emotionally because men are egoistic. They will try to figure out their own answer. They will not ask somebody else to help them. Women, on the other hand, are the opposite. When they have a crisis, they talk about it. So the talking itself is cathartic in nature. Therefore, they have an emotional outlet. Men hold it in. They try to figure out their own answer. That's very typical of men. Now, what happens? Is there anything different with women? Women, yes. Women reach a certain age and find they finally have the opportunity to do all the things in life they have put off doing while caring for a family. Now, so women feel liberated. Now, one of the things is a cessation of the monthly cycle. They feel energized. Or women have completed their duties like child rearing, children are out. Now, I have n number of possibilities. I can join a club, I can pick up a hobby, I can get into some altruistic behavior, like I can work in a children's home, I can help out in the parish, or I can go and help out in the education of somebody. I can also get into human or social action, because they tend to feel a certain amount of freedom. Midlife also brings in a lot of financial security, provides women the opportunity to explore more things that they didn't do it. So that means they can actually fulfill their unfulfilled needs. That's a good thing and a not so good thing, because it all depends on what you choose. They can also choose to leave the husband and be attached to another man. That's possible. So because they're financially stable. So it all depends on the choice people make. Women go through menopause, which means both biologically and psychologically there are changes. They can go through sense of loss and also the sense of freedom. It can be both. People also can go through an operation and lose a part of the body. They can go through the process of loss and depression, or they accept and move on. So it's also a possibility during that time. They may doubt their values in life. They will question everything in life, whatever they believe. That means traditional values, familial values, cultural norms. They tend to question a lot. So that is when things go sideways, especially in families. Till that time, there was a person who was doing well, would not open her mouth, want me angry, take care of the very sensitive. Now they ask me, why am I supposed to be like that? I will ask questions. So the balance is disrupted. So they lose body confidence with the physical change they are undergoing, question their career choices, and they may doubt their values in life, lose all that they can have. Okay? Yeah, I repeat this. Now, friends, the natural process of midlife transition. Now, I like this, so I just put it here. Believe you are always guided, just listen. Believe you are always guided, just listen. Listen to the inner voice and then make a change, but don't jump into a conclusion and make erratic behaviors. Now, we need to understand what phases people go through in midlife. Okay, so according to this psychologist called Carl Jung, he was the first one actually who started speaking about midlife, and he has some 5-stage program, and I will just enumerate one by one, and then I'll try to explain what they are. So according to Carl Jung, there are 5 stages people go through during midlife. One is called accommodation, the second is separation, and third is liminality, fourth is reintegration, and 5 is individuation. Now let's try to understand what they are. Accommodation is trying to meet others' expectation. Actually, this takes place in the first part of the life, but is the context in which midlife process takes place. Now, what do I mean with accommodation? Now, accommodation is whatever I've imbibed right from my childhood, and I'm trying to exhibit it till now. The values, the behaviors, the way I should emote, what kind of emotion that I should have, and how I should behave with people. All these were learned, and we were all conditioned at some point of time. Okay, right from birth. By whom? There are factors like parents. They are very strong systems. Siblings, whom we grew up with. The society, the culture, religion. All that sort of gave us a kind of a template or a timetable that we can follow. And we did follow that. But that's the accommodation. We tend to do that up to this point. We have done it. But at this point, we are looking backward and asking myself, was I doing the right thing? Okay, that is when we have this Okay, the younger children, as younger children, they're eager to please people around, especially the parents, the grandparents, the family. So therefore, what they do, they have to fit into the family. Therefore, they accommodate all the things that come from the outside, which Carl Jung uses a term called persona. Persona means it's a mask that I wear. It's literally a mask that I wear. And what is this mask? Mask does not show who I really am, but it shows me as what I am at different situations. I think probably that's what people do. I'm not the same to everybody. I'm different in my home. I'm different in my community, different with my friends. I'm different in society. I'm different at my place of work. I'm different when I present a paper. I'm different in my occupation. Which one is true? Which one is me? That means I have so many masks. And where did all these masks come from? By a process of accommodation. We have imbibed a lot of value systems. We have been conditioned again and again and again. So in order to fit into a certain system, I've made that my own. I tend to believe that mask is true. But when once we reach this type of midlife transition, something tells me that is not true. Whatever I have been doing is not true. Now that's accommodation. Okay. The second is called separation. That is when I tend to question my entire life, my entire lived life, all my value systems, all the traits that I had while I was brought up, right from my childhood up till this point of time. The first stage of midlife involves a questioning process. They tend to question. They tend to question whatever they did, their life, with their life. Now, this is a scary part. So that what happens when I question, I tend to remove my mask. I'm removing my mask, and I'm seeing there are two people here. One is me, one is my projected self. That's not me, which I thought was me. All along, I thought what my projected self was me. How did I project? Intelligent, beautiful, talented, capable, likable, helpful. It's all my projections. But was that me? Now that's the time that I question and say, no, that is not me. That is all what I did. But that is not my identity. I'm something else. Then the question comes, who am I again? If I'm not my achievement, if I'm not my career, if I'm not my congregation, if I'm not a religious, I'm not a married person, if I'm not a father, I'm not a mother, who am I then? Now, this is a very disruptive space that we enter into as separation. Okay, now it is a mask that I remove it and I analyze my mask. So I ask these questions. Who is the person underneath this mask? Are these masks appropriate? Why am I pleasing people? Why am I saying yes to people all the time? Yeah. Do they show others what I really like? What am I? Am I an introvert or am I an extrovert? So I tend to sort of question myself again and again and again. And that is stage 2, and that is a scary stage. But then that is not scary though, but it's not impossible. That we have to go through. That will lead us to the third part. That is called the liminality. The liminality is I'm trying to understand me as a person, my real identity, and I have a set of masks here, and I'm looking at all my masks, that's my projected self, which had brought me success, which had brought me a good name, gave me a status in front of people. People call me likable, people call me brilliant, people call me excellent, but all those are masks that have served a purpose, but that's not real. But now I stand in between judging which is real. That is a part. That's called liminality. Liminality is I'm in between the entrance and the exit. I'm in between. That means a no man's land. The old persona has been rejected, but the new one, I'm not too sure. Then who am I? And that's the ultimate question that comes to mind when we are in midlife transition. So the questions are, who am I? It lacks in direction. I'm not sure because all that I knew was this. That was my projected self, which I know that was only a projection now, and I've rejected already. But I am here and I don't know. I'm vulnerable. That is what makes us more scared, makes us do erratic behaviors, change jobs, change careers, get into some kind of a relationship because we don't know. We're trying to discover us from scratch. So we make decisions like that. So this is not going to be a helpful thing as well. Okay. Now that's what it is. So you have an object. Yes, you did. There was a purpose all along. But now you're moving towards meaning. That's totally another sphere that we are moving towards. Success and meaning. Did my success give meaning? No. But what will give me meaning? And that becomes a search. And that's the threshold that I am in. Now, if you see that we are moving from separation from our masks or our perception or our persona, and we are moving towards integrity. You see, that means the new self, a transformed self. So I'm moving from separation, from the mask and the persona, and I'm moving towards integration. So that is why we have the time frame for midlife transition. It's over a period of time. It's just not overnight. And fourth stage is reintegration. Fourth is called the reintegration. Eventually, the uncertainties become okay. I tend to adapt very realistically. I also given time for myself to see what is really helping me, what is really not helping me. And I create a new person or a new persona. And I try to get comfortable with that. That is a process of reintegration. That means I'm trying to figure out what I can do from now. I can't be here forever. I can't be in between, confused all along. What can I do? So that is when, like people like Albert, people like Judith, they move towards something that gave them meaning and purpose. A meaning and purpose. So that is when people tend to move from one job to another after giving it a lot of thought, after working out a strategy, and then they feel that that transition will give me meaning. And then they shift. There are very successful people like that. Like one successful person is Mother Teresa. She made the transition, she moved into reintegration, but it was well thought out. It was not an impulsive decision. She did not just transcend like that. Mahatma Gandhi, he did the transition as well. Now, from a lawyer to a social person, that was a transition. But people who did make transitions like that. But transitions can happen only when we are going through all these stages. And finally, what they will develop? They will develop the answer to who I am. That means what I am. I know what. That means they're able to assess what are my successes, what are my strengths, and what are my failures, and what are my limitations. And they're able to accept, I've succeeded in something, I've failed in many things, I'm okay with that. I'm strong in these areas, I'm not okay, I'm not so strong in these areas, these are my limitations, and I'm fine with that. So they come to that kind of a futuristic outlook. That is when we are moving towards. Okay, so they retain some senses of liminality. Sometimes we might hold on to certain things, become more comfortable with oneself and others, being the way they are. So that's the time we become more open, we become more understanding, we become more trusting, we become more accommodating. When we are in transition, we get irritated, we get frustrated, we get regret, and we have guilt. But now we are more accommodative, we are more reconciling, we are more open, and we are non-judgmental. So that is the movement that we take. And finally, we move towards individuation. That is the final state. And what is individuation? Individuation means self-discovery. I go through a process of knowing myself better every day with everything that I do, with every relationship that I have, every success and failure, every action that I perform. I tend to discover me more and more and to find what gives me my ultimate satisfaction and meaning. That is the individuation. So Carl Jung says we need to transcend from a stage of disillusionment to individuation. Okay, that means accepting the authority of others. That's one thing. Taking authority over our own lives. That is totally a different perspective. I can say yes to people. I can oblige to people. That's okay. But now I will reflect whether what they said was true. If it's true, I will take it. If it was not true, I will try to communicate back and give another counterpoint of view. That's possible. So I'm more and more balanced. So it's like meeting the demand of others. Do it, we do it. Once upon a time, we did it. They say, you do this, there's a time frame, you do this, you do this. But now I see, what is the purpose of doing that? Does it give any meaning to it? Is there a meaning to that endeavor? So therefore, we'll reevaluate ministry. We'll reevaluate relationship. We'll reevaluate our own way of handling things. We'll reevaluate our own way of relating to people and mission, and even to spirituality for that sake. We move from accepting, acknowledge the shadow. That means shadow is the unlikable part of me. We all have our shadows, sitting with things that even we are not very proud of. But that is me. I might make an effort to change, but if I can't, I can live with that. So that is when individuation takes off. So friends, we are talking about individuation because it gives us a control of my own self. I'm able to understand my own identity. I can accept myself with my very ability. I'm not going to grow an inch tall, or I'm not going to grow my hair again. It's not going to work out. My gray hair is not going to turn black or any other color. And I know that I have a condition of hypertension, but it's okay. I can take care. I can still remain happy. I can still remain content and continue to figure out the meaning of my life. And that is what is there in this particular slide. Okay, maintaining good health, maintaining relationship, great self-control, overcoming worry, listening to focus on solutions instead of the problems, identifying what are the obstacles and trying to work through strategies, how to work through the unpleasant situations and about transitions, or the unfinished business of the past. I'm able to reconcile with them. There are certain things I couldn't do. Fine, it's okay. I couldn't do. I can move on. So we can practice mindfulness. Now, this is what we need to move. So, friends, when we are talking about midlife, there are a whole lot of physical things, but more than the physical, the psychological aspects are even more pronounced. And if we are able to understand these dynamics of the structure where we move in and which stage we are in, and then I'm sure that this transition is just a matter of time. And by the end of this transition, we're going to see a silver lining in the cloud or whatever cloud that is available there. So I think I would like to close now. Do you have any questions, clarifications, or doubts?
Thank you, Father Staney. So really a marvelous input. I think it needs a lot of time to go back into your notes, the PowerPoints, because every line counts. I'm really grateful to you for giving us to this, how the struggles, how the challenges becomes a joyful transition, and also enter with the individuation, to become original, to become something what God wants me to do, contributing. Very good, very good. Thank you so much. I now ask Father Ben to lead the group discussion, Father.
Yes, Father.
You can give us some comments about your impression about this talk in the chat line, so that we also give some suggestion also, anything to Father Staney. So it will for us also helpful for us how to go about. Thank you. If there's no question, I have got some question for the Staney.
Oh, yes, Father. Please go ahead.
Father Ben, may I go?
Yes, Father, please.
For the Staney, the idea about this Carl Jung's idea about this ending with individuation. What happens? We come with all the originality as a school boy, a school girl, enter into the community and congregation. Since it's a very big gathering of religious majority, of course, there are some few family people also there. They'll accept, understand our situation and our questions also. My situation is like this. My question: when we enter into religious congregation, we are asked to put on a mask. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. Where we live in a particular mask. Especially when I go with some congregation to give seminars and recollection, the retreats and other things, they come with something else. They are asked to do something else, and they are put in some situation. But what I want to, the men also same, particular congregation. But what happened towards the end, at the age of middle age, we come into this individuation that Carl Jung, C.J. Jung speaks about, that to be myself, to be the original me, to take stand. And this is one difficulty that we have got. So, but at that same time, we are caught up with the community, province, their expectations of me, their expectation of justifying my mask rather than my me, the real me. So how to convince or present my individuality, my speciality, my originality to the higher ups, and to take into my apostolate, my God-given apostolate, the prophetic apostolate, how it is possible. One side, this higher ups are there, they are expecting something else. On the other side, I have lived in another mask. Today, at least I want to say, yes, I want to be different. I want to be myself. I want to came for some purpose. I want to live up to that. So how to do it? Can you help me to the whole group?
Father, let me put it this way. When we join the congregation, so maybe some join early, some join late. Say the average age will be like 16 years. Let's take it as 16 years. Now, when we join the congregation, it does not mean that we are not coming without a mask. We are actually coming with the mask. The mask is like, that is what my father told me, my mother told me, family told me, and the society told me. I'm already with the mask. Now, I come here, they give us another mask, and we say thank you. Why? Because that is the time of identity. See, 16 years to 19 years, I'm trying to figure out who I am. So in that, what I will do? I will try to associate with something that I've been given. That's much more easier than to struggle to discover. So the easy option is I go through and I accept this mask. And therefore, I make this mask also part of my mask. So I have a set of masks, which I will exhibit at different points of time. So everybody comes with a mask. All of us have a mask. Now, when it comes to a formator, like I was in formation for 10 years. When I was a pre-university director, one thing that I decided when I went in, they were all between 16 and 18 years old. I decided that I'll pretend that I have not noticed many things. I'll pretend that I have not noticed. Okay? Because a 16-year-old will be naughty, and that naughtiness is allowed at 16 years, not at 45. It's not allowed. 45 years, the thing is, everything is so much there, is controlled, but once they are out, ordained, then the whole thing, childhood comes out, and that becomes difficult in communities as well. Now, the person who's sitting in the chapel, and they're going to just sit at 5:30 in the morning, and they're going to say, yes, Lord, and yes, Lord. Definitely they're not praying, they're sleeping. Is that okay to sleep? I feel it's okay, because the person is also growing physically, they need energy, and they tend to sleep a lot, and okay, let them sleep. So what, as a formator who's about 35 years, what are my expectations? Angelic holiness, which is not possible. So therefore, I think in this context that we should be reasonable in that. Okay, they tend to make mistakes. Yeah, at least pretend that certain things, if it's not serious, pretend that you're not seeing. Okay, but if it's serious, yes, we need to have a chat. We can have a chat like an adult to an adult. We can say, so I used to do this. I used to call them after if it's going on like that. So I used to tell them, okay, you did not come for prayer, and I presume that you did not sleep well. Maybe there were mosquitoes. Maybe you did not get good sleep, and I presume you had a valid reason. I presume so. Well, if it's okay with you, you can always come and talk to me. And if people came and talked to me. They did talk to me. I only tried out this, but it worked out. And if people are having, I will have a dialogue with them. I can say, these are my things, my observations, and I will give. Do you have anything to answer me? This is my perspective. I will be absolutely wrong. So they might give their version. Because all these kind of dialogical process, I think it does not happen. Therefore, what happens? People are worried about being promoted to novitiate. The novitiate, will I be promoted for profession? After profession, will I be promoted to final profession? And they're finally professed, and then, thank God. Now, there are so many masks like that. So I think we need to create an environment where we need to nourish the strength of a candidate. We should be able to assess and nourish the strength of a candidate. Secondly, there should be, the person should feel that I'm not afraid of being here. I'm evolving happily. I'll make mistakes, but fine, but I'm accepted as I am. So that kind of feeling, if we can nurture that environment, I think we'll be doing much better. That's my personal opinion, actually.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, 2 minutes more. Anybody can raise your question. There are very good notes are there. You want to read further for Staney for you?
Yes, Father.
I think this, they're asking for the videos. Then we have to feel guilty. All this emptiness, helplessness, everything sits in sometime the early middle age. Sometimes guilty, the feeling guiltiness, emptiness is setting in. Do we have to feel guilty about this? Are we in some way responsible for this? That's one question for us. And also then, then one more thing is, yes. Very informative, very effective too. Thank you so much. It was very good, very interesting topic. And then very enriching input. Thank you, Father. Do we have a tool or questionnaire to measure or identify whether we are in the transition time? That's a very good thing, I think. Probably, I think you have given us some very good questionnaire. Good, everything, Father. Can you explain once again the myths of midlife? There's a myths of midlife they want one thing. And very useful and informative. Thank you so much. Very good question for Nitya. Same thing I asked. So same thing I wanted to ask something to the people. I was a similar question that like the community life. One question in this age, want to be more pleasing to authority. Do everything, but don't bother for the subject. How to understand this? That pleasing. That's one question.
Maybe let me put it this way. We have these 3 vows. We have celibacy, we have obedience, and we have poverty. Now, one of the most powerful thing is obedience. Now, what does obedience do? It says, it's not that I have to obey blindly to a person's place as in charge of me, a superior or whatever. It is a collective discernment process. That's how it is understood today. So we tend to put our minds together and we try to discern what God wants us to do here and now at this point of time. It's a collective discernment process. By professing our own vow of obedience, it also gives us the ownership of our own congregation. That means we are not working in our congregation. I'm the owner of this congregation. So when I say I'm the owner of the congregation, I have the rights to be as a member of the congregation. I also have the duty to propagate this congregation. Both are there. Now, what are the rights? That means I can really ask for what I want, which is reasonable, anything for me as rights into intellectual growth or maybe ongoing training like this or whatever. That's a need. It's a human need. Food, clothing, shelter, which is decent enough and so on, which is affordable. Now, what is my duty? My duty is to sustain and to propagate my congregation. It's a duty. Therefore, I am also duty conscious to prevent any abuse that happens to my congregation. So that means I also play the security role. So by the very profession of our faith, it gives us ownership. It also gives us a duty. Now, seldom we understand this and seldom we take it to heart. We think that we are working for somebody else. So therefore, we have this hierarchy happening. So somebody says, I listen, then I feel so suffocated, I go to chapel and cry. It doesn't work that way. But I can always, collegiality is always possible. I can always dialogue with people. Even to my superiors, we can always say, okay, this is your point of view. I do have a point of view. Would you like to listen? There are ways of saying. But unfortunately, we go into the reaction mode. You say this, I'm not talking. It doesn't work that way. I have a point of view. I need to communicate it in a very intellectual way so that the other person is able to understand. By reacting, it's only counterproductive. But my work is only to communicate to you the best that I can, for which we have a lot of forums. We have, during every recollections, we have some time, during retreat time, we have community meetings, we have a lot of time. So we can actually negotiate. After all, everybody is a human being. Nobody is going to like say, oh, that's a bad idea and I'm going to do it. There are people who would do, but that doesn't stop us from negotiating. And we can come to a win-win situation. That's a possibility.
Any other questions?
Father Ben, can we wind up officially? Then we can still give some time.
Yes,
for,
Father.
huh?
Yes, Father.
Okay. Dear friends, we'll officially wind up. Just only one information. If you are part of the WhatsApp group, that's part of the group A is full already. So if you want to become part of the group B, I'm sending you the link to everyone in the chat box. Just open it if you are not part of it, if you are not receiving videos and PowerPoint. And also Father Staney has given some questions for self-introspection. A lot of points are there. You can make use of these. Personally, for a meditation time, it's an excellent thing he has given. Not a question, you can just write it down. I'll put it in a PDF. So to manually, you can write it down. Keep it with you. A lot of things are taking place now. So I am sending that one. Officially, including at this time, those who want can still continue some questions. Father Ben will be helping us. I am here online only. Thank you so much. Kindly go through this message that I have given about becoming a WhatsApp group member, those who are not. Thank you.
Excuse me, Father.
Yes.
Yes.
We have already joined, some of us joined the WhatsApp group.
No need. Yeah, you don't need. Only those people who are not getting videos.
Yep.
Things.
Well, so far we have not received any. You will be sending now.
No. If you are not received, that means your WhatsApp number has not been properly put inside. So once again, open it and become WhatsApp group member B.
I received the message that you have I have already joined the group.
Yeah. If you have become that, you'll get it.
So you will not receive any messages.
Okay, the past one I'll send it to you directly.
Okay,
not
Father.
In the group. Yeah. Thank you. Tomorrow we'll get all the things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Father.
Others can ask questions.
Friends, if you have any question, you can just unmute and ask.
Some questions are in the chat box, Father Staney.
Okay, Father.
You see, there's some good questions are there. Moving from liminality to individuation, when one person is weak to understand oneself or unable to take help or guidance from others. It's not in the form of a question.
Yeah, somebody has asked this question.
Yeah.
Yesterday, yesterday you were telling even for meditation, don't sit for hours. Then what about the yogis and monks who sat in prayer for hours? Now, I'm not saying don't sit, but I'm saying don't use that as a tool to cover up my turmoil. Because some people can substitute, because I'm having a troublesome times, I'm trying to camouflage it by deep breathing, and I can get into a object meditation and all that. So it just calms me down, but it does not address my situation. So in that, it can be counterproductive. But yogis are people, they're simple and they have accepted themselves, whatever they are. So therefore, it makes a difference there. And somebody, those who can't hear. Okay.
Yeah, there is other questions.
Yeah.
We can bring it up further.
For the Staney, one question is
Yes.
how to overcome the anxiety during the middle ages, midlife.
Yeah, there's no simplistic answer for that. I will tell you the reasons why. If I were to give you an example, I'm just giving an example. We can apply that example to many things. Now, say for example, stage fear. People having stage fear. Now, let's analyze stage fear. Why would somebody have stage fear? Now, when we're talking about stage fear, we're not talking about fear. We are talking about a derivative of fear. That's called anxiety. Fear is good. Fear is very helpful. Now, say for example, because we have fear, we do not run across a railway track when the train is on. It is because of fear. Because of fear that we don't pick up a red hot coal with our hand because we know it will burn our hand. It protects us basically. Feels good. If you don't have fear.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, now we can go.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Fear is like this. Fear is very protective. It's okay. But we call it a stage fear. It's not stage fear. Actually, it's stage anxiety. And what is anxiety? Anxiety is there over a period of time, for a long time. Now, let's analyze why would somebody be anxious. There could be reason number one. I should not make a mistake. Second, the thought goes like, if I make a mistake, what will they think of me? Third, if they laugh at me, I will feel embarrassed. Fourth, if I am embarrassed, I am nobody. So therefore, I had to be performing well. So in order to perform well, I should know everything well. You see the cycle? Now, basically, it is something to do with expectation and something to do with mind. That is what is triggering anxiety. So many people have that. They lived in a situation with certain offices, like rectors or superiors or principals of schools and correspondents of schools. And so the thing is, they tend to believe that just because I was there, I cannot make a mistake. So I have to be perfectly right. It's not necessarily true. So in that, they put extra pressure on themselves. And because of that, they may sacrifice their food, they might sacrifice their sleep, sacrifice their recreation. They can also be irritable with people. They find it difficult to work in a team because they always feel that the other person will make a mistake because the overall, I have to make sure that everything is fine. They become over-responsible. And you imagine, if somebody is doing all that, they're going to be frustrated at the end of the day because nobody can guarantee success. All that we can do is all the work that we can do. We can just finish whatever we can do, but the end result, nobody can anticipate. So when people are anticipating, they're scared of the end result, they're more scared. Now, say, for example, this is day 3, and I've been speaking to you. Now, after day 5, I know that you have an opinion on me. All of you have an opinion about me. Okay, what do I expect? Do I want all 500 people to say that, Father, that was excellent 5 days? That is one possibility. The second possibility, all 500 of you can say that was a stupid waste of time. That's also a possibility. Now, what should I look forward to on Saturday? To expect that all of you say that it was an excellent time spent or it's a stupid waste of time. Now, if I'm going to focus on either or, I will be anxious now. I will not be talking to you without any anxiety. I'm not anxious. I'm just talking to you. But if I'm going to worry about what will happen on Saturday evening where you're going to give me an evaluation, that now on Thursday, I will have butterflies in my stomach before the session and I'll have frequent visit to the washroom. Then I'll be drinking what I feel thirsty. That's why I drink water. But otherwise, I will be fidgety and I would be losing my sleep. I would have worked the whole entire night entire day till 6 o'clock, and I wouldn't have eaten my food, I wouldn't have spoken to anybody, I would not watch TV, I wouldn't have entertained myself. Is it worth it? That's the question people tend to ask in midlife transition.